What's going on, guys? This is Rob, and we are back again with another installment of our Beyond Omega Level series where we break down the origins and powers of the most powerful characters in comics. And for today's video, we're technically revisiting a character that we've already covered in this series, the Batman Who Laughs, but in this video, we're actually focusing on his Darkest Night version, which is a far more powerful version of the Batman Who Laughs, and I think he's different enough and powerful enough to merit giving him his own video. So, the Batman Who Laughs, as most of you guys know, was created by Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo, and first appeared in Dark Days, the casting #1 in 2017, with his first full appearance coming in Teen Titans #12. And this guy is basically just Bruce Wayne from Earth -22, who has pretty much the same origin story as the Batman of the main DC continuity, right? His parents get murdered when he was young, he endures years of training to become a vigilante, dedicated to rid Gotham City of crime, and eventually becomes Batman. Now, like the main version of Batman, the Joker is his arch nemesis, but this version of the Joker figures out the Joker toxin that he'd been using was actually killing him. So he kills all of Batman's other rogues as well as Commissioner Gordon because he just wanted to take out as many people as he could before he died. But the Joker then drugs Batman, which paralyzes him, and continues his killing spree with Batman forced to watch but unable to stop him. Now, when the drug wears off and Batman moves again, he kills the Joker, but when he dies, the Joker releases some of the toxin within his heart, which infects Batman. Now, a few days later, Batman summons his allies, right? Nightwing, Batgirl, Red Robin, and Red Hood to the Batcave and murders them because he knew they would be the first to notice that the Joker toxin was changing him, and he needed them out of the way, basically. Now, the Batman Who Laughs is then able to kill the rest of the Justice League using weapons stored at the Watchtower and uses black kryptonite to drive Superman and his son John insane, driving them to kill Lois Lane and each other. Now, from this point on, Bruce Wayne becomes the Batman Who Laughs, a hybrid of Batman and Joker, and convinces his son Damian to take the Joker toxin to become one of his Robins alongside some of the other children that had been transformed by the toxin by the Joker prior to his death. And so that's basically the origin of the Batman Who Laughs, which you have to understand in order to understand the Darkest Night. But the Batman Who Laughs eventually conquers his entire universe of Earth -22, and later learns that is part of an entire dark multiverse when he's enlisted to help Barbados, a bat god bent on destroying the multiverse during the events of Dark Knight's Metal. This storyline, of course, saw the Batman Who Laughs recruiting different versions of Batman from the dark multiverse to invade the DC positive multiverse, and it was a whole big thing that I have a full story video on if you guys want to check it out. But after he was introduced, the Batman Who Laughs became extremely popular and was literally everywhere in DC Comics for like 3 years, so much so that fans actually grew to hate him. Now, for the purposes of this video, we don't have to get into everything the Batman Who Laughs did after Dark Knight's Metal, but instead, we're going to focus on what led to him assuming his final form, the Darkest Night. So once Barbados is defeated, a new villain showed up in the form of Perpetua, who was responsible for creating the DC multiverse, but who had been imprisoned within the Source Wall for billions of years for disrupting the multiversal balance by not giving up her life upon creating the multiverse, and then creating a group of apex predators by merging Martians and humans. Now, after Perpetua is freed, she goes around basically destroying universes, and of course, eventually sets her sights on the DC universe. Now, while she had originally chosen Lex Luthor as her lieutenant, and really the guy who led the show in her stead, and transformed him into an apex predator, he was eventually replaced by the Batman Who Laughs, who had heard about Perpetua from Barbados and convinced her that he, not Luthor, should be her leading man. Shortly thereafter, however, the Batman Who Laughs battles the Justice League and is killed by Wonder Woman, who uses a weapon known as the Chainsaw of Truth, which was basically crafted from parts of her invisible jet to essentially take out Batman. But because he is Batman, even if he is an alternate reality version of Batman, he of course has a contingency plan in place in the event of his death. In this case, he had observed a version of Bruce Wayne that had found the button belonging to the comedian of the Watchmen and had built a machine to study it. And so the Batman Who Laughs traps this version of Bruce Wayne in the machine and then turns it on, replicating the incident that had created Dr. Manhattan in the Watchmen universe and effectively turning that version of Bruce Wayne into Dr. Manhattan. And so the Batman Who Laughs quickly lobotomizes this version of Bruce and then puts his comatose body away for safekeeping. Now, after he's killed by Wonder Woman, the Batman Who Laughs followers take his brain and implant it in the body of the Dr. Manhattan Bruce Bruce Wayne, becoming a new entity that he calls Batman Manhattan. Yeah, it's a really stupid name. And if you know anything about Dr. Manhattan, you'll know that his powers are incredibly vast, and they basically amount to near omnipotence, as Dr. Manhattan is able to manipulate matter on a molecular scale and warp reality. So he's already an extremely powerful entity upon becoming this guy. We're not going to call him Batman Manhattan, that's a stupid name. But he would not remain in this form for long, as he would soon remake himself into a thin, wraith-like being of pure energy, and then dub himself the Darkest Knight. Now, the Darkest Knight's goal was to prevent Wonder Woman from recruiting the multiverse, and instead create one in his own image that contains 52 planets of nightmares, which he basically called the last 52. To do this, he seeks out Wally West, who would also gain the powers of Dr. Manhattan after sitting on the Mobius chair, which of course is a chair that grants those who sit in it near omniscience. Although Wally and his fellow Flashes Jay Garrick and Barry Allen try to flee, they're unable to defeat the Darkest Knight's plans. As it turns out, the Darkest Knight had altered the Mobius chair so that it sent all the energy intended for Wally directly to him, making him vastly more powerful than he already was, and turning him into probably the most powerful entity in the multiverse. Now, before he goes through with his plan to create the last 52 multiverse, he confronts Perpetua, who, keep in mind, created the multiverse, and is able to kill her by trapping her within pieces of the source wall. So not only can the Darkest Knight create multiverses in his own image, he was also able to kill what up to that point was probably the most powerful character introduced in DC Comics, with the exception of the Presence, which is basically DC's version of God, but even then it's slightly debatable. Now, at this point, you may wonder how a character as powerful as the Darkest Knight was ever even defeated. And the answer is plot armor. Quite literally, Wonder Woman shows up clad in golden armor and battles the Darkest Knight through space and time, and the two go all the way back to the moment Perpetua created the universe, and all the way forward to the moment just before the universe's sun burns out, because the universe has a singular sun. But despite pleading with Wonder Woman to join him and prevent the destruction of the universe by the Hands, the race of beings that Perpetua had once belonged to, Wonder Woman refuses, and the Darkest Knight dies after being thrown into the coalescence of energy that is the end of all things. And so that's basically everything you need to know about Darkest Knight. Now, as for his powers, they were pretty much anything he wanted them to be. After getting the powers of Dr. Manhattan and having them augmented by stealing Wally West's powers, as well as the energy he absorbed through the Mobius chair, the Darkest Knight essentially became God, with the power to create an entire multiverse. So he was pretty much omnipotent, meaning there was effectively no limit to what his powers were. He was also nearly omniscient and was aware of almost everything going on throughout the multiverse, and had the ability to perceive the past, present, and future simultaneously, which begs the question, how is he defeated by Wonder Woman? But being nearly omniscient and omnipotent, the Darkest Knight probably needs to be categorized as whatever is beyond Omega level. I have no idea what that would be. I don't know, beyond Omega level squared. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section. But thank you guys for watching this video, and I will catch you all later. Peace.